Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to my dungeon.
Welcome to Cauldron Script. I'm your host, Master Cauldron. If you're new to the show, I use my 24 years of BDSM experience and 20 years working in the psychology field to dispel myths, get rid of stereotypes, and answer your questions about BDSM. You can call in at 865-268-4005 to leave your questions or visit the crypt at cauldronscript.com. On this episode of The Crypt, I have a lost interview from DomCon LA 2019 with ChinaDoll on fetish fashion, a rant about calling red, emotional versus physical reasons, and a couple of other little things to touch on. So let's hit those rules to love by and jump into the interview. Rules to love by. Rule number 1, safe, sane, consensual, and informed. Rule number 2, kinky. That's KNKI and comes from the Kinky app, available on all platforms. Not a sponsor, but it does stand for knowledge, no intolerance, kindness, and integrity. And rule number 3, the quote from Mr. Paul Young. Submission is not about authority and it's not about obedience. It is all about relationships of love and respect. All right, it is Saturday at DomCon Los Angeles 2019. Now we have a lot of beating sound in the background. I'm not sure if someone was getting spanked or what, but I am here with ChinaDoll.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well.
Now, ChinaDoll has, let's go ahead and get this right out of the way.
All right.
A very interesting talent that she is known for.
Yes.
And what would that be?
Autofellatio.
Now, kinksters, crypters, you guys know that I'm not one for just talking the dirty on here just to talk the dirty. But there is also a very interesting story that goes along here and a long history of fetish. So stick with me. We're definitely getting into that. Now, before we do, where can they find this? Because there's some videos and things of this nature, some social.
There's a few websites. I'm on everything from Pornhub to, FetLife. I think I had a clips for sale at one point. That didn't really fall through. Where else am I?
Now your videos are, you said, on FetLife, right?
Right.
Okay.
But I started out with a company called Shemale Yum, and that was a transgender adult stuff. I don't know how else to say that.
That's fine. We can say porn.
Yeah, I mean, it was solo stuff anyways. So, I mean, technically it wasn't. I mean, do you consider solo masturbation porn?
Solo porn, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, solo is a division of...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, so... All right, so those can be found, and it's a fascination with a lot of people. I know I've got a lot of trans friends, and some love their chasers, others are highly disturbed by them.
Right.
And I can understand, how it feels to be turned into a fetish for some.
Yeah.
But speaking of fetish, what you're wearing, absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
I'm sure it was quite expensive.
I can't remember which place I got this outfit from. I get them from all sorts of places, but some of the websites, decent price. Some of them can be a little more expensive. This may or may not have come from Westward Bound.
Okay.
It may or may not have come from HonorUs.com.
Okay.
It may or may not have come from Twist My Rubber Arm. I cannot remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of fetish wear sites out there.
Yeah.
And that is rubber? PVC?
It's latex.
Latex,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and to describe this for you, it is one kinky nurse outfit.
Nun, actually.
Kinky nun nurse? A medical nun?
A medical nun, yeah, I guess. I was going for military medical nun, I guess. I don't know.
It's really cool.
Thank you.
We'll have to link to a picture.
Oh yeah, no, there are tons of pictures out there of it. But
awesome.
Yeah.
So now you've been in the kink scene for,
I would say, about 12 years now.
And you're
31.
31.
I'll be 32 in September.
Okay. All right. So what got you started?
It's a long, odd story. It really all started with whatever that old school chat program was, like Telnet or something. It was literally just chatting. Like there wasn't anything to it.
IRC and Usenet and...
It's way before all that. Like it was like, so you know when Yahoo was starting out as a messenger? It's before that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. But at some point, I jumped in on what was called the Gorian lifestyle. And I was curious about it. I was definitely submissive back then. Now I'm a switch. I really, really enjoyed the idea of having to like sit there quietly and do what I was told. And I enjoyed that for a while. But after learning about a new website called Fricadia, I had started using Fricadia as my go-to for any role play. So I started up my own dreamscape, as they call it. And I joined the NC-17 side, and I made a place called Hot Bun Bun's Dom Clinic, if I remember correctly. Yes, I was a bunny rabbit.
Oh, that's nice.
I was a pink bunny rabbit, yep, for quite a while, for a good couple of years. And I think about that time I was probably 22 or 23.
Okay.
At that exact same kind of time as well, I had also branched out to actual porn. That kind of stuff with like Femme Out and, Shemale Yum. And I started dating a famous adult actress. I don't want to say her name because I have really bad memories of it.
Okay.
Yeah, like we only dated for like 3 months, and I only saw her a couple of times. She was polyamorous at the time, and I wasn't really into that, and I had no idea she had a husband.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I found out midway through our relationship, as we call it, she tried to get me into clips for sale. She bought me a webcam so that I could make videos and things like that, and it just never really took off. Like, those 3 months were interesting. We kept in contact, but...
So, moving forward and getting further into the lifestyle, now you said you're into a lot of medical...
Yes.
Now, is that medical play, or is it mainly like what you're wearing now?
It's more fashion than it is play.
Okay.
But I would love to get more involved in medical toys and things like that.
Well, what is it about the fashion that draws you to that?
I don't know. There's something that just kind of arises in me, I would say. I absolutely, like, when I say, like, medical fashion and stuff like that, I actually like people in scrubs. I like the gloves. I like the sound of the gloves. I also like the ASMR of it. But for the most part, there's something about tight-fitting gloves around a woman's hands and stuff like that that always got me, aroused. And I don't even know how it came that I got my first outfit or where it really started. But I've always had a thing for medical.
Now, how long have you been into the fashion side of it? Do you have any idea?
No, I'm not actually sure.
No.
I used to wear scrubs when I was like a child. So,
okay.
Yeah, like I would see people in erotic outfits and, with pasties on and things like that. And the whole cross on the outfits, or the red and the white together, like, I like that color. I really like that color.
Gotcha.
And it looks good on a lot of things,
Yeah. It's just aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. It's aesthetically pleasing.
I gotcha.
That's the word I was thinking of, actually.
If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice to when you first really started joining the lifestyle, what would that be?
That's a good question. I gotta think about that for a second. Because, like, I mean, I like where I'm at. I knew what I was getting into from the beginning. Okay. I understood all that, you know. I knew about rules and regulations from the whole kink scene in general. But I would probably tell myself that to take the offer way before you did, because now, like, thinking back on that, like, having the chance of what I had could have been a little bit more raising. Like, I would have had like an income. Yeah. I would have been where I was, you know, I would have had something more going on. And now it's like I could still have that, but I have to work a little bit harder, you know?
And what would one warning be?
A warning?
Yes, as far as the lifestyle goes, not necessarily directed toward, you know, major life issues, unless the warning is, you know, but like, what would be one thing that you would want to go back and say, hey, watch out for maybe being too quick to make decisions or not fast enough?
See, that's the interesting thing, though. Because of the decisions I made, I wouldn't be where I am. And I think I don't really have any warnings for myself. I think I'm where I should be, you know?
That's awesome.
Right.
That is because that is the way that I try to look at life. If we love who we are, that means that we accept everything within ourselves and in our past.
Oh yeah,
and that really shows the ability and the maturity of somebody. So, and again, validates what a lot of cryptors will come in and ask me questions about. Is, you know, well, how do you reach that point of acceptance?
How do you reach that point of acceptance?
Which is an amazing question for a transgender person to be in.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the term I actually use is gender fluid.
I apologize, gender fluid.
But I do accept any term.
That was an assumption on my part with the website.
Right.
I sincerely apologize.
It's fine though, because I am so used to that. In fact, I have a pretty funny stories whenever I get involved, like going out and things like that. When I go to diners and things, and I'm with my friends, and I'm literally just wearing a t-shirt and pants, they will. Anybody who's working usually assumes I'm female. Not even because I look male or female,
right? But
they always just kind of say like, "Oh, the hair is really, really feminine." So, you know, I'm gonna go with this. And then they hear my voice, and then they realize, "Oh, I made a mistake."
Yeah.
Like, I did not mean to do that. I'm sorry. Or even the ones who try to correct that mistake, like they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir." Like they'll come back quickly, and then they'll say like, "Oh, yes, sir, this, sir, that." Or, you know, they just kind of ignore it.
One of my friends who is just an absolute sadist, as ever much a bit as I am, they love that.
Right.
Because putting somebody in such an uncomfortable position in that way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's great. It's so much fun. I can tell from the smile on your face. No, I enjoy it so much. Because everyone always thinks that I'm so pissed off.
Yeah, well.
Like, it's a name, it's a label. I don't care if it's a label. I mean, you know, you're human.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
We have some information for you. I'll put some links in the show notes to some of the things that we have talked about. And
I should probably also mention, I am single. And I'm looking for a girlfriend, not a guy friend, not a boyfriend.
A girlfriend.
A girlfriend.
All right. So you can...
Everyone always goes to me, and it's usually a guy. I would like a girl for once, you know? Yeah. I'm just saying.
So you can find ChinaDoll on FetLife. Of course, I will post links in the show notes, as I said. ChinaDoll,
thank you for having me
so much. I've enjoyed our chat.
Support for my clean-shaven ballsack comes from Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Cryptors, seriously, you know I don't support it if I haven't tried it, and I don't like it. And I actually do love the Manscaped Lawnmower 2.0. So I'm going to tell you these talking points that they told me to because they sent me one for free to try out. If I didn't like it, I was under no obligation to give a positive review. It's 2020 and you know what that means. New year, new me, new balls. Men, listen up. Hairy bushes are so 2019. If you are going to pick any New Year's resolution this year, let it be to take care of your junk. Manscaped is making it easy with their grooming products. And let me tell you, it is awfully freaking embarrassing to have to put a little tissue on a nick on the sack. And that's not going to happen with the Manscaped Lawnmower 2.0 because Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. And don't use the same trimmer on your face as you use on your balls. That's just dirty. Manscaped also has the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? Your balls. On a side note, Crypters, going off script for the second time, this little spritz thing, and I'm looking at it right now, I brought it in here with me to record this. There's the Crop Preserver, which is the ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver, which is the ball toner. You know, you come home, you want to give a little spritz, get freshened up because you don't have time for a full shower because work kept you too late, blah, blah, blah. It actually does work. It's pretty freaking cool. So, again, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't promote it. Start off the new year right by using the best tools for the job. Your balls will thank you. Go to manscaped.com and use coupon code Cauldron20, that's KULDRIN20, no space, for a 20% discount and free shipping. Links are in the show notes. Okay, Crypters, a couple of important things that I need to tell you before I get into this rant. First off, I cannot find ChinaDoll's contact information for FetLife or any of the clips for sale. I apologize for that. Secondly, you know that I don't edit my rants, and even though this is a very small edit, I have a tickle in the back of my throat that has been going on now for a week. I can't get rid of it, and I'm going to cut out all the times that I start coughing because nobody wants to hear that in their ears. So, well, nobody that I know of wants to hear that in their ears. Also, the final thing is people have been loving the rants. I want to hear your feedback on them. I've had several requests for hour-long episodes that is nothing more than the rants. Apparently, you guys like the really raw, unscripted conversations that I have with myself. I've certainly taken that into consideration. As you see, this is before the end credits, so it is becoming a regular part of the show. So, with all that said, thank you so much for sticking around. And let's talk about calling red, physical versus emotional. Now, this comes from someone that I know. This just happened. They were they're new. They're learning, and they're learning very, very quickly. It's not often I see someone take to what we do so naturally. And I'm really proud to and honored to be able to help with and to witness the progress of this person. But they were set up with someone to play with that is well known as being a hard bottom, quote unquote, meaning that she can take a lot of physical pain and enjoys it. She can undergo a lot of emotional pain as well. She's very strong mentally and physically. However, landmines do occur, and one of those were hit in a play session, and she called red. And to any top, that can be, though it should be just what it is. Some people are insulted by it. Those are the really cocky, arrogant ones that, in my humble opinion, are often abusers. And then there are the ones that this bothers. A class 2 sadist, which is someone that likes to hurt someone in ways that other people enjoy. They're going to be bothered by this because they have pushed past that level of enjoyment. Now, we automatically, most of us, think physical. Well, I have physically hurt them. I have damaged them, especially if they're nonverbal or they won't really go into detail about what's going on, or, all they want to say is, well, it's okay. I just needed it to end, but they don't want to expose that emotional side or expose a physical weakness, possibly. And weakness is in quotes there, because we are all strong in ways, we're all weak in ways, and those ways are in fluctuation constantly. Just because a person is able to take, say, 200 hits with a paddle today and absolutely love it, doesn't mean that next month, after they're all healed up, or next year, they're going to be able to take 20 hits without tapping out. We fluctuate. Our bodies fluctuate. Women more so than men, because of that natural cycle that women go through. So that actually does have a lot to do with pain tolerances, how fast, or if they're even able to get into subspace. In some women, it can control whether or not they have the ability to orgasm because of the hormones and the mental concentration or frustrations that they're experiencing. Women are complicated, amazingly beautiful creatures. And don't get me wrong, that's not an insult for anybody saying, you just called women creatures. I'm primal. I love women. I respect women. So back off. Anyway, so some physical reasons. You wrap somebody. Now, you know that I am not a bottom. My cryptors, you know this. I do not enjoy bottoming, with the exception of one thing, and that is a belt to the back for the purpose of catharsis. And I will have that done very, very, very seldomly. But the other night, and I'm going to tattle on the wife and myself, you know that I don't really drink that much. I think I've talked about this a few times. But Thursday, January 23rd of 2020, we lost a dog. Now, we've had this dog for 15 years. It was a service dog, worked with autistic children, just an amazing German Shepherd, Golden Retriever mix. Beautiful, beautiful little runt. He was only 48 pounds. But the sweetest little dog that I've ever had. Now, we're not those people that, would put diapers on their pet or any of that. And if you do that, that's fine. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that we're not the people that do that. But we do love our pets. I like animals more than I like most people, to be honest. They're pure. And that's the primal side of me. And also, don't get me wrong, it's okay to love your pets, but don't love your pets. All right? Had to throw that out there. So anyway, Friday night, my wife is grief stricken. I'm upset. We go out, we have some Mexican and margaritas. You know that we love Mexican food and margaritas. So we split a pitcher, which ends up being like 2.5 drinks apiece. Hung out for a while, talked to some friends of ours that were there, and waited until I was not buzzed before I drove home. So we get home, we have some more drinks at the house, and my toy bag is here. Normally my toys are hanging at Mayfair's house in our play space. But a friend of ours was asking me about a dressage crop, and when you buy them, sometimes they have a rubber end on them or plastic coating on the end of them, and you take that off and you hit with the actual string part. And so I opened up my bag and I grabbed my dressage crop out and I sent him a picture of how it's supposed to be used. And she started looking at my deerskin floggers. Now, these are extremely soft. These are warm up and sensation play level floggers. Very, very, very soft. You can make anything stingy pretty much. And she took these. I turned my back to her, took my shirt off. She started flogging me. I was just letting her get some practice in. And I'm kind of standing there thinking, she's kind of buzzed. I probably shouldn't be doing this. And again, I'm tattling on both of us because this is what not to do, ladies and gents. And she started hitting a nice little rhythm, and it was feeling like a very light massage. It was pretty cool. And then out of nowhere, she hits me both floggers at one time and wrapped me. And I kind of moved forward a little bit. And I'm like, and I thought I shook my head like, no, don't do that. But apparently I didn't, or she wasn't looking. And she did it again. Boom. And this time it wrapped me really bad and marked me across my lower neck where it meets my clavicle, my shoulder blades, and down the front of my chest a little bit. So physical pain, I immediately grabbed the hurt area, in which there were blood spots under the skin. That's how hard it was. And kind of walked from the living room into the kitchen, just, not trying to alarm her or cause a big scene, just kind of walked in there, and she's, comes up behind me. She's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. But that was me walking off. That was my way of calling red. I'm not a sub. I wouldn't recommend that subs do that, or switches do that, or bottoms do that. But I wasn't shackled to anything, and I wasn't bottoming so much for her in an official capacity. So that was me calling red. Physical reasons. Obviously, getting hurt is one. Blood sugar. I have had to call red as a top more times than all of my subs or bottoms combined have called red. First off, let me throw that out there again. I have called red in a scene more times than what people have called red on me for. So, tops, it is okay to do it. One of those times was a physical medical reason. My sugar dropped. I'm diabetic, type 2. And I needed to get some food. I was really amped up. The scene was a lot longer than it was. I think 2.5 hours. We probably could have gone for 4 hours with this scene, but I just had to stop and immediately get some food and get my sugar back up. And then afterwards, I was just exhausted and tired, and, it broke the scene. There was no going back into it. It was done. Medical reason. I've personally never had a sub or a bottom that has had to check out because of a diabetic reason, but I have been in dungeons when this has taken place, and I've talked to people when this has happened to them or to their bottoms. So many medical reasons. If they have some kind of illness, I played with someone whose psoriasis, I believe it was, just got bothering them so bad that they couldn't focus on the scene. And they called red for that. I've had a scene called because of a wisdom tooth coming in. And the impact was just rocking through their body, and they couldn't continue because it was hurting their tooth. And when they told me, my tooth is, the hits are hurting my teeth. What? But then they explained, and okay, that's understandable. No problem whatsoever. And when someone calls red, they need reassurance that it's okay. What they don't need is somebody who is insecure and decides to, go off about it. Nobody's perfect. Accidents are going to happen. A lot of times it's not because of an accident or anything that we even have any control over. One person that I play with, their way of ending a scene, of saying that they have gotten everything out of it that they wanted to get, is to call red. They have tried for years to make it some other signal, even a yellow, and they can't. When they're in that space, red is the only thing, because it's so ingrained in us that's the only thing that's the only way they can communicate. So they call red, they get that check in, the scene is done. Especially in, public dungeons, typically if somebody calls red, then the dungeon will not allow you to go back into the scene. Which brings me to another point of, we need to be teaching yellow more. Yes, we teach red for safety, but we need to teach yellow more. We need to practice yellow more. Yellow, hey, things are a little intense right now. I need a check-in. Bring it down just a little bit. Whatever. The hand signals that I use, I'll post a link in the show notes for those, for an article on my website or on FetLife. It's in both places. On the hand signal system that I use, a simple 1 through 5. So anyway, the physical reasons are countless as to why somebody can call red, whether it's a top, a bottom, a switch, doesn't matter. What matters is that both people are reassured by each other, and that it's, well, first off, that the red is respected. That's what's important. Because if it's not, then you're getting into possibly physical harm and emotional harm. And then second, there needs to be reassurance on both sides that everything is okay, and any physical needs that need attending to are attended to. All right. Well, in the case of my friends that brought this whole thing up and made me decide to do a rant on it, that wasn't the case. And that was his concern. Well, here's this hard bottom and I've broke her. What did I do wrong? And it was an emotional landmine. Landmines are hidden by definition. You don't know it's there until it's too late. And there's nothing that we can do about it. As a top, I've been in a scene and I've hit a landmine myself by what someone has done, bratting out on me, taunting me, calling me names. A friend that was, and I didn't even know it. Had I known the facts, I wouldn't have played with this person. She was drunk. She was high. She was not fit to be played with. I trusted someone else when they said, hey, we're going to co-top her. Oh, okay. And she's like, yeah, you, come on, you're going to beat me. Okay. The person that, my friend that knew her the best, should have informed me of the situation, but I wrongfully assumed that I could trust this person and that everything was okay and that there wouldn't be any issues. I'd never do that. And now anybody that knows me knows that they can tell me something about somebody that I'm going to play with, and then they can listen to me ask the person my own questions and get into the thing that they told me. Because it's not worth it to me to harm somebody or to put myself in a situation that I shouldn't be in because I didn't ask all the questions. And I urge you to make sure that you ask. You do your pre-scene negotiations and you ask the questions regardless of what you already know, because things change. There are people that I play with all the time, including Mayfair, my collared submissive. And before we get into a scene, I'm going to ask her a few different things. One is about her skin sensitivity. Now, that's a given because she does have very sensitive skin. And I'm going to say, hey, where are you at on that today? Or do you know? Do we need to test it before do we need to take some rope and rub against the sensitive spot of your arm to see if it turns red or swells or whatever? How's your emotional state today? That's not to say that she has emotional problems. That's a question that I ask everybody. What's your emotional state? Okay, this is the type of play that we're going to be doing. What are you looking to get out of this? Is this for fun? Is this for catharsis? Is this for just to be completely out of control and not in charge? What is your goal for this scene? And again, these are people that I know well. I know what they want by how they're asking the question. But to not ask the question is to make a dangerous assumption. And I refuse to do that. And you should too. All right. And that is part of the emotional red. Emotional reds are not just landmines. I was playing with somebody and they used to be married to someone very, very abusive. And I don't know them very well. And this was like years and years and years ago. But I'm a drummer. I love playing the drums, guitar, piano, just a musician in general. Not a great one, not even a good one. I do it for me, not for anybody else. But I keep a pair of drumsticks in my play bag, and when my play bag is empty and the toys are hanging in our play space, they're sitting out. And this person that was married to someone, and I mean 15 years ago, that was abused with drumsticks. In the middle of the scene, she happened to look up. I think I pulled her hair to the side, and which forced her to kind of look over, and she was looking at the rack and she saw those drumsticks up there and freaked out. Now, it wasn't a landmine because I knew it. She had told me about it. So I assumed, here we go, making assumptions, that they could just be hanging or laying up on a shelf and not be used, and it would be cool. And see, that's why it's not a landmine. Really, it's a mistake. Now, there's a difference. There's landmines, completely unforeseen things, and then there's mistakes. That was a mistake on my part, mistake on her part. She can't see them. She didn't want to see them, and it freaked her out. We had to stop. Sounds can trigger things. Smells. Your memory and your olfactory senses, your sense of smell, that particular sense is tied to your memory more than any of your other senses. So a smell can remind you of something and send you down a path that you shouldn't be on. And it's not a landmine because there may or may not be any, big explosion. Just, hey, this scene needs to end. Now, in my friend's case, the newbie and the experienced person, I'm not sure exactly what happened other than something was triggered and emotionally she was broken. Now, I don't mean that in a big dramatic way of a emotional mental breakdown, anything like that. I mean, how sometimes you hear people talk about, or you may talk about it yourself, breaking someone physically. That can often and foolishly be a rite of passage to some people to be broken, to be beaten to the point to where they can't take anything more. All of their safe words are ignored. and they're basically beaten until the top decides that they've had enough, that they have been broken down physically to the point that it has broken them down emotionally. It's so far past edge play and things of this nature. Mayfair, when she first got involved in the scene, she was basically under the assumption that that was just something that took place every time you're collared to someone. You know, if you're in a relationship and you end up being collared, and then that relationship ends, and then you're with somebody else, then they would break you to help you push past every issue that you had with the former relationship. And let me tell you, that's stupid. It is stupid. You don't have to break people for that to take place. There is cathartic play that can be done that is not edge play and abuse. So don't buy into that. Newbie, please do better research. If the books that you're reading tell you that that's just part of it, you're reading the wrong books, because that's abuse. I mean, by definition, you're calling the safe word. And even though you've agreed that safe words don't mean anything for this particular scene, and you just beat me until you feel that I've grown. And some people want to say, well, that's a test of trust in your dominant. That's a test of trust in your master to see if I will actually push you that far. Well, dominant, master, if you need that kind of test to prove anything, then you're not much of a dominant, and you're definitely not a master, in my humble opinion. And if that is pissing people off, then good. All right, so the physical versus the emotional. Both are very valid. You know, you can throw medical in there on both sides of that as well. There is medical that is physical, medical that is emotional. The psychological is medical. Don't make that mistake of thinking, well, that's just psychological, so that doesn't count as medical. Yes, it does. Psychiatrists are medical doctors. They've been to med school. They're not just PhD. That would be a psychologist, is PhD or PsyD. Anyway, so that's my rant. There's some things that tick me off in there, some habits. I haven't really talked about a lot of the things that I wanted to hit on, but I hope you get something out of it. Let me know how you're liking the rants. Please stick around for another minute or two while I thank some very important people, show pro producers, LilyxChaosx and Freedom Hills. Freedom Hills is a new facility. I can't talk about it very much, but stay tuned, because I'm hoping to get the owners of it on here where we can talk about it, and they can give out the information that they want to be made public. But phenomenal people and a phenomenal place. Senior producers, Matt, Roxiebear, ThatPlace in Oklahoma City that's run by Miter. Mitor is another great person. If you're through Oklahoma City, make sure to hit him up before you're going to be there. It does take some vetting before you'll be permitted access. They certainly have tight security and care about their patrons there, that community, that family that visit that place. So check them out. Also, senior producers, XEmeraldxWolfx, JayKay, SirMutualRespect. Thank you, my brother. Master Gabriel. He runs Gentlemen in Charge at the Sanctuary, LAX. So that's once a month, I believe. Check him out on FET as Ravenblood. babyloveandSir Theo D123, and Sir Pent. Producers Kainsin, Zine, Alexandria, Haley, JayKay, Daddy Steve, and Duckie Monroe. Junior producers K2SO, Buffalo Dom 84, Morgana 13, Not the Daddy, and Jeremiah. If you'd like to help me out, help keep the show going, go to cauldronscrypt.com/support. The link is in the show notes to get that information. Vendors that I know, like, use, and trust, obviously, Manscaped, the Lawnmower 2.0. Also, BDSMcontracts.org. Use coupon code Cauldron20. That is just the same as the Manscaped coupon code KULDRIN20 for a 20% discount on all purchases. Whippingstripes.com, my personal maker of just about everything I own, leather and paracord impact toys. TorridTimber.com, fine fetish furniture and accessories. Next time on the Crypt, not quite sure yet. I am working on a couple of really, really in-depth and detailed episodes, but I got to get them right before I send them out to you. All of my contact information is in the show notes. This has been Master Cauldron and ChinaDoll for CauldronsCrypt.com. Unearth the truth.